back. This is the Dream is Free podcast, episode 11. Our guest today is Glenn Colello. He's also the owner and director of the Catch a Healthy Habit Cafe in Fairfield, Connecticut.
This is exciting. The space is awesome.
And we are back. This is the Dream is Free podcast, episode 11. I'm your host, Jake Healy. We have our other host and super producer, Mike Theophil. Doing
Hey, guys.
a lot back there. We are powered by Downtime TV.
Yes, sir.
And our guest today is Glenn Colello. He's an old friend of ours. We've known him since we were little kids at Wakeman Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's also the owner and director of the Catch a Healthy Habit Cafe in Fairfield, Connecticut,
Shout out.
which is a raw food vegan cafe.
Yep.
They have a lot of good food over
Great
there. Good sweets, everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, thanks for having me, guys. This is exciting. The space is awesome. This is probably the most professional setting I've been in, and this is cool.
Thanks,
This
dude.
is really cool.
We put a lot of work into it and
Yeah.
invested in it. And
Yeah.
it's been we've been trying to kind of get it together for a while. So we,
This
had
it's
some ups
actually-
and downs, but we're here.
It's crazy. 3 days ago was 2 years that this started. So now 2 years later at Sacred Heart, 2 years later, now we're here in the studio
With Sacred Heart interns.
with Sacred Heart interns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that Sacred Heart interview
Yeah.
that we did. I don't know, something went screwy with the
Yeah, the
sound
first
back
one.
then.
The
Yeah,
first
the
one.
first
We have another one though we did, and it's still up actually in our Hall of Fame, the Buzz playlist on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
So the one we actually did get right is there.
Yeah.
But this one obviously is gonna be way more epic.
Yeah, and it's funny how small the world is. So we had on Chris Barrett,
Yep.
right, who's also a track and field coach at Greens Farms Academy, where
Yep.
you're also working
Yep.
with him, right?
Yeah. I'm the head coach and kind of run the show. Chris, unfortunately for the program, got a real job.
Yeah.
And so he's been showing up, a couple times a week and on the weekends for all the meets, and the kids love him. He's technically sound, and,
Yeah.
and he offers a lot to the
Yeah, he's
program.
a
It took
good
us
runner.
to a different level for sure. So yeah, I know you guys interviewed him, and I'm sure that was a great story.
Good interview. He's a good friend of ours too for a
Yeah.
long time. So we've kind of known him throughout the whole story, which was
Yeah.
crazy to see. And then also Mike Evans from Full Court Peace,
Yeah.
which I didn't know him until Mike introduced me
Yep.
to him either. And then when he came on and he started talking about how he brought you to Cuba to
Yeah.
teach some reffing over there.
Yeah, no, Mike's a good guy. I remember Mike as a player
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
Weston High School. I was already in the world of officiating basketball, so Weston was never much of a basketball power, and but that couple years that Mike was there, he was a sharpshooter, and it was fun to watch and fun to officiate him.
Yeah. It's crazy to see where basketball has taken him, like in his life journey. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
All stemming from there. Yeah.
Right, great schooling, intelligent kid, and just kind of went a road where he got lots and lots of connections in his work and what he was doing, and then he brought all them along into his basketball world.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
It's a
guy.
crazy story. But yeah, so I mean the main reason that we wanted you to come on today, or that at least that I wanted you to come on, was to talk about Catch a Healthy Habit Cafe and how you went from Wakeman to kind of, I don't know if you did anything in between Wakeman and Catch a Healthy Habit, but how you kind of got into that field and came up with the idea and started the business.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I got to first give props to my wife, Lisa Storch, and I'll weave her into the story as well. But she's
Sure.
also a big part of the cafe, and really, I was started at Wakeman in '93, and was the program director there. It was the first year there were operational programs for what we called, all of us called, the new gym, right? So there was a second gym
The
built.
Red Baker to the
Well, there was the Red Baker.
First, yep.
And then there was
The new gym.
The new gym was built.
Where you always wanted to play in.
So when that was built, that was the first year. So that was opened in January, and then I started that next September. So it was almost like a clean slate a little bit. All the stuff they used to do, they had to do just in that one little gymnasium. So now with this second gym, it allowed for all the free play and open gym to happen in one, and all these programs to come to fruition in the other gym. There's a list that they all at Wakeman wanted to do, and when I got there, they're like, "These are all the things we want to do," and so we just kind of made it happen. And the leagues went from like 6 or 8 teams to upwards of 20, 25, 30, and then actually 1 year of maybe my third year of Pee Wee basketball. I think one winter season we had somewhere upwards of 52, 53 teams.
Wow.
Of 10, 12 kids on a team. So the place was rocking. I loved it. I mean, it was every day just organizing basketball, tournaments, leagues, games, working with kids. I did a lot of playing myself with the kids that were in there for open gym. And then we'd also kick everybody out around 8:39 p.m. And then the really good players in town, some college kids, some high school kids would come in, and we would do a lot of running, late night running. Sometimes I'm walking out there 11:30. Mm-hmm. So that was it was just an awesome job. And also what happened there, believe it or not, that they had disbanded their lacrosse program about 2 or 3 years before I got there. So there was no youth lacrosse in the town of Fairfield. It just didn't exist for about 3 years.
It was pretty big when me and Mike were growing up. So when we were in middle school, I remember the lacrosse program over there. Yeah,
it got huge, and it got huge quick. Had maybe 2 or 3 or 4 fathers come in, sit down. We had this meeting. We have to have lacrosse. And they had 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade sons. And they were the perfect group of guys to come in because we started at the ground level again. And then year after we kind of started, what about the older kids? We had this guy come in. He played, Ivy League lacrosse. This guy was all, Maryland goalie, and all these people started coming after 1 year of like a little house lacrosse program.
Nice.
So within 3 years, we were basically running out about, between boys and girls, we were probably running out about maybe 10 or 12 travel teams, and then maybe a house program that had maybe 16 or 20 teams that would play on the weekends, and they would all practice once a week during the week. So now we had a full-fledged, super-duper lacrosse program. So then I was running that with the basketball program, travel basketball, and everything else. So we later kind of divided that up. We brought in a lacrosse person. I kept with basketball and kept going. So long story short, 12 years, well, actually 10 years into my time there, I started flipping my own personal switch. I started really doing some research on how I personally can get healthier. And I didn't have any issues on like your guest, Chris Barrett. I didn't have that bam moment where something happened and now I had to make some severe changes. Mm-hmm. I didn't really have that.
What sparked interest for you? Were you feeling a certain way?
I'll tell you what sparked interest for me. Back in the day when that jersey you have up there, 31 Bridgeport, I played basketball at the University of Bridgeport.
Shout out UB.
Yeah, UB. I played there, and from Trumbull High, and that's all I did as a kid was pretty much play basketball. Loved it. Went to UB. Freshman year, I got a nice backup spot. I'm getting minutes. Everything's going great. First 3-4 games of the season, and then I made a crossover move on somebody who was defending me full court. I guess the MO on me was I didn't have a handle, because all of a sudden the point guard in front of me had a handle that people don't normally see in the real world. So now I come in, and all of a sudden he doesn't get up on him, get up. So the guy gets up on me. I'm fine. I'm totally confident now. I do a nice strong crossover. I'm about to lose him, except the disc in my back blows up.
Oh.
So basically, I'm on the half-court floor. The kid picks it up, throws it down because it's just him. And so I go to the hospital, back operation about 2 weeks later.
Wow.
And then that was it for that season. Come back and play 3 years, and it's great. Actually played 3 years of baseball after that as well for University of Bridgeport. But getting back to the story, what kind of turned the switch is, it was a long road back from that back injury. And I was doing a lot of rehab, a lot of chiropractic here and all that stuff. And finally, I was going to this one awesome chiropractor in Southport. He said, listen, I got nothing for you. We're adjusting you. You're doing great off the adjustment. You're great for 2-3 weeks. It's not holding. He goes, the only thing I see that you can improve is your day-to-day eating habits and your diet. I said, what do you mean my diet? I eat pretty good. And it's funny, I hear people recite the things that I used to eat, and I also used to think that I eat pretty good. So he said, listen, this is where we're going to start. You got 3 things that your diet needs to improve by eating less of or removing. And he said meat, dairy, and sugar. I said, what do you mean chicken and fish? I don't eat meat. I don't eat red meat. He goes, chicken and fish. Got to get rid of them. Sugar, that was going to be a challenge for me because I was doing the casual drinking. I was drinking Sobe drinks, some Gatorade. I was doing all that.
Shout out Sobe.
Sugar focused.
And you don't realize how much sugar is in a Sobe
or
no. a Snapple or a can of Coke. It's just like I think
pure
sugar.
I think if you're drinking Snapple and Sobe and you think you're not getting as much sugar as the diet or the Cokes and the Pepsis and all that stuff. In all reality,
it's high.
It could be higher in some cases.
Yeah.
So it was that, and then it was the dairy. So I contemplating while I'm sitting in his office with him. I said, all right, I got 2 months. I'm going 2 months dairy free. Now I was doing pizza. I was putting the Romano cheese on my pasta.
Sounds good right now.
You know what I mean? So I thought that would be the most difficult thing for me. So I want to go that direction first. So I stopped it. 2-3 weeks later, I started noticing things. I mean, he wasn't telling me what's going to happen. He just say, overall, you're going to be in better health. And, the stuffiness, the what was going on with my nose and my sinuses started to clear up. And then a little bit of acne. I'm in my 30s now, but the little bit of acne I still had was starting to clear up, and go away. And I was like, man, there's something to this. So, about a month later, I'm back in his office now. I got this dairy thing kicked, and I'm done. Like, I'm not going back. No milk, no cheese, no butter. It's gone. And that was great. He goes, all right, what do you want? What do you want to do next? I'm like, meat. Chicken and fish. I can do away with it, I think. So what that led me to is eggs were still there, so I wasn't doing the conversation about being vegan or vegetarian never really arose between him and I. But so I just had to kind of become vegetarian once the meat flew out, so that was great. I was eating a lot of tofu, but just a lot of veggies and a lot of fruit. Like, I was eating a lot of fruit.
Yeah.
So, but I was feeling great. And what happened was I started to lose weight. I was starting to lose weight that I didn't think I needed to lose or had to lose. But when I was running and still playing ball, just physically felt great.
Yeah.
Right? So then the sugar came, and that was it. So this is 4 months after that initial conversation. Dairy's gone and meat's gone. So everything except the eggs, they're still hanging out over there. But then the sugar came, and that was about a 6-month battle.
Trying to get off of it because there's the alcohol part of it, which I was just kind of doing casually, but I was having fun. I was going out to, places in Fairfield and Norwalk and New Haven, and I was still having fun. Again, I was in my single and in my, early mid-30s. Right.
Just a good time. So then that all came to a screeching halt. I love telling this story too. I went out with my own money. Up until now, I'm buying a bunch of used cars here and there.
Yep.
I went out with my own money. The Honda Element came to market. I was like, a lot of people think the car is super ugly.
The Cube, right?
The Cube.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the Cube because there is a car called the Cube.
It's called the Cube. That was the original one, though.
Yeah, but this looked like a toaster. For some reason, I saw the commercial. I'm like, I'm there. I was in Honda the next day, like literally saying a commercial. That's why this TV programming works, because it made me buy a car. I went to Honda the next day, and I was locked into, getting the shift kind of cars.
Yep.
And they're like, no, man, they're not coming in for another 8 months, 10 months. You can have an automatic. You can walk out of here tomorrow with the other kind. I'm like, nah, I'm going to wait.
You want the standard, yeah.
I want the standard. So I waited, and I got literally the first one that got to the Honda in Greenwich, I think. I walked out with that. So I'm driving off, $20,000 cash out of my pocket, and I go out 2 nights later. I go to Al's place in Fairfield, right?
OG spot. That's
drinking some beers, having a good time. And again, I'm not drunk at this time. It's probably 1 or 2 o'clock. After not drinking for a couple hours, I get into my car. Maybe a little resonance of drinking, maybe like a little slight buzz. But what got to me was the $20,000 I just dropped on that car. And if I do anything now to get in an accident or screw that up, so then what happened in the quick near future is, when I drove, I didn't drink at all. And when I didn't drive, I drank. And what was happening is I figured out that when I wasn't drinking and going out, I was having a pretty good time and saving a ton of money, right?
Probably feeling pretty good too.
Yeah, so that flipped. That got me off the drinking, and that helped. And all the other sugar stuff kind of went with it. I stayed with the fruit. I never got off the fruit. To this day, I still consume a lot of fruit. But it was all the added sugars. It was the white sugars. It was all that kind of stuff.
And all that
Everything
stuff,
in that processed world of either food or drinks was gone. And that was the start of it. So I was feeling great and just kind of looking for, okay, I'm off meat. I'm doing this vegetarian thing now. The eggs went to, I'm basically vegan. I'm like, all right, what's next? So I went, I remember this. This was late fall 2002, maybe 2003. There was a flyer up on the wall. I'm looking at all these flyers at these health food stores before, like, the internet was crazy. I'm looking at all these flyers thinking, all right, let me go to a health seminar. Let me learn more about what I'm kind of doing on my own and trying to figure out, reading some books. So I went. This little place in Darien, might have been 60, 70 people there. And the speaker I'd never heard of before then. But I went. I didn't care who was speaking. I didn't really care if it was a vegan topic or how to prepare food or anything. The topic, as long as it had something to do with health and wellness, I was going.
Yep.
So the speaker happened to be David Wolf. So David Wolf became my mentor and good friend, and a huge part of the Catch a Healthy Habit story. But I listened to him, and man, every single thing for 2 hours, he said, everything was resonating with me. I was blowing up. I was sitting in that chair just like, wow, like I haven't heard this before. It makes so much freaking sense. Like this raw food. He was all about raw food. He had just written a book on his journey with raw food, and about that time, it was he was it was pretty much on about a 10-year trip for him at that time when he's speaking. So I'm listening to all this stuff, and this is just like super resonating with me. So I get the book, obviously, but what totally blew my mind is I got in line, the talk is over, everybody gets in line, and he says there was no question and answer period. He had to end the talk because he went way too long, but he let everybody get in line and ask questions.
Oh, that's cool.
So I got in line. I happened to be the last one. I was talking, whatever. Actually, I went to the table, bought his book. I got in line. So I get there, and my whole thing at that point, I was thinking like food combining. I have a little thing I take out of my wallet, and I'd only eat this with that and this with this and all that stuff. So basically my question was going to be about, because he didn't mention it, how important is food combining in your journey? So I get there. So I said, hey, great talk. Really loved it. I want to ask you this one question. He looks at me. He's like, starts squinting his eyes a little bit. He goes, when were you born? I'm a little freaked out right now, right? So he's like, when were you? I said, yeah, I was born August 6th. He goes, no. I said, yeah, why? He goes, what year? I said, 1969. Oh, we're off by a year. He goes, I was born August 6, 1970.
That's weird.
And the whole point of it, it's a little weird, but the weird part of it is like, why did he ask?
Yeah,
Like
that's
the four people in front of me just walked up to him and asked a question. He answered the question, took a picture, and went on his way. So I was like, that's super strange. So I was like, this guy is like, he's like a little more connected than a normal human. So needless to say, I left that night, read his book. I wanted to do more. I wanted to be around him a little bit more. So he had a retreat out in Ojai, California. So it was in the summer, early summer. So I went out there, and me and maybe 8 women and maybe 4 or 5 guys just sitting in a room, like listening to him tell those same kind of stories and things like that. So it totally got me into this raw food thing. So, all right, I'm home in Connecticut. Raw food. What is it? Where do I go? Who's going to teach me? All this stuff. It was nothing in Connecticut. Zero.
already got it.
Zero. There was nothing. So what do I got to do? I go to New York City. So I'm going to New York City like every weekend. I'm going to this little place on Ludlow Avenue, second floor, like apartment that she flipped into an organic, like cotton clothing spot, and then all the raw food books and all the raw food snacks and stuff. I never knew this, kind of lifestyle already existed. But in New York City, there were raw food restaurants in 2003, 2004, and there were vegan restaurants and stuff. So I spent a lot of time in New York City getting to know those people that were running those places, and obviously consuming the food, going to see chefs prepare the food and going to classes on how to learn how to do it. And I totally like dove in. So basically 2003, 2004, I was completely all raw, trying to do as much teaching as I could back here in Connecticut. And then a little place in New Haven opened up. It was a raw food little cafe. And then it flipped into a little bit of a restaurant. It was called a Himza.
Okay.
And everything on the menu was raw. It wasn't a lot on the menu. It was like 4 things. And I was going there like three times a week. It was phenomenal. But that was really it. No really community building was going on with the Himza. It was just serving up the good stuff. But because they were doing really good business-wise, I'm like, there's a community out there. So I started a meetup group, a raw food meetup group in Connecticut, and people just came by the droves. I was doing movie screenings. I was bringing in speakers, all kinds of, and actually all started in the old Black Rock Art Center on Fairfield Ave in Black Rock. It looked like an old bank.
Yeah,
and
on the corner of Brewster Street and Fairfield Avenue.
It's like
it's apartments
now. But back then it was the Black Rock Art Center, and the dude who took over was super cool, and he wanted just to get people in. So he wasn't charging me anything to rent the space out initially. He said, take it, but hand out our, the upcoming shows and help us advertise. So I was showing documentaries there. We were doing raw food dinners there. We were doing all kinds of really cool stuff. And then I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition because I wanted to take it up another level. I wanted to learn more about nutrition because I was getting asked questions and I was feeling confident referring back to the raw food way of doing it. But not everybody wanted to kind of go 100% raw. You know what I mean? So I went to the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, which
when you say 100% raw, just so I think I understand what it is, but just in case anybody who's listening doesn't, just like uncooked.
Yeah, so completely uncooked. So basically
vegan, uncooked,
all vegan and all uncooked. So what does uncooked mean? Obviously fruits, obviously vegetables and salads, smoothies and juices. That's the super obvious stuff. And there's people that can do that in the cleansing mode, maybe do that for a month, 2 months, 6 months.
It's hard to sustain,
and cleanse, but it gets super boring after a while. So that's when all those raw food prep classes came in, and I learned what an Excalibur dehydrator was.
Okay.
So that really made life fun. I took the recipes where I can make flax crackers, corn chips, onion bread. I can dehydrate things like vegetables and fruits and make fruit leather and things like that. So that really brought it up. And then one of the most awesome things that I was making that everybody was loving, and I probably missed the boat back then. I could have created a little business, but my mind wasn't there then. But I was making, I was just putting a whole bunch of nuts and seeds together and then throwing some honey on top and then mixing it all up and then throw it in the dehydrator. So it's kind of like a granola, but a nutola. There's no grains in it. And it was awesome, right?
Is raw food no wheat either?
Not necessarily. If you're sprouting it,
Okay.
you can have like sprouted
Sprouted breads and stuff like that.
sprouted breads and stuff like that. But again, not necessarily bread, because by definition, bread's going to levitate.
Okay.
So when we put bread
Oh,
on
you have to cook, yeah.
yeah, when we put bread on our menu, there's always quotation marks because it's always just going into the dehydrator. So that dehydrator opened up the world of sustainability. And then there's a little machine called a spiruli, where you put a squash, a sweet potato, something like that, and then you
Spaghetti it up.
spiruli, and it looks like spaghetti.
Okay.
Right?
That's a big thing now too,
Oh,
like
man.
the spaghetti squash and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up and we actually just do it with zucchini, but I grew up in an Italian family, so twirling the fork
Yeah.
was I needed to do that, at some point, you know. And then obviously tomato sauce was the easiest thing. You just get a bunch of tomatoes, maybe an avocado, blend it, and you got a creamy sauce. You know what I mean? So that's what raw food is. But predominantly for, I would say, a solid 10 years, from probably 2002 to 2012, it was full on. It was all raw. Like if there was something cooked, I wouldn't eat it. Like if I went to a wedding, I'd just be asking them to bring me out like 3 more salads. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So it was great. And then when I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, learned a lot. It was an in-person school back then in New York City. Learned a ton. But I also met my future wife. She was going to the nutrition school too. I went to school for a year, and then I stayed on as staff the next year, and that's where I met her.
Oh, wow.
And she was a
Small world too, because
yeah.
she's from
Westport, and I'm meeting her in
New York.
Columbus Theater
Yeah.
in New York City. So that was phenomenal. So we met. She kind of was interested in the raw food thing as well, and she kind of went down that road. So it clicked. Her brother back then I think was a part owner of Match in South Norwalk.
Okay.
And now,
I think I know him, yeah.
Now he's the full owner, Matt Storch.
Yep.
But there was also a connection, and this is where things started to blow up when the cafe started to become a reality. There was you guys probably went to it. There was right across the street from Match. There was a bar. It was super popular for about 15, maybe 20 years. And the bottom line was, we wanted to do really exquisite raw food dinners, right? Mm-hmm. We wanted to do like 4 or 5 course raw food dinners, but we needed someplace to do it. So this bar, which was kind of partners with Match, or like one of the owners was also the owner of that. He's like, yeah, nothing really happens here Tuesday and Wednesday night.
So raw food extravaganzas.
So why don't you guys take the second floor, and why don't you go ahead and do what you want to do, you know? So we did it, and we had about 4 of them. And the first one was great. Second, third, and fourth one sold out with waiting lists. And the food was amazing. My wife took it to a different level with 5-star kind of restaurant-style raw food stuff. And the energy kept building and building and building to really create a spot for people to go to and congregate and build community around a cafe or a restaurant. Mm-hmm. And we opted more for the cafe part of it because it was a little easier to kind of start up and find a space. So we started in 2008, February of 2008. We opened up Catch Healthy Habit in West Haven, Connecticut.
Okay.
A lot of people who know Connecticut would be like, what the hell were you doing in West Haven, Connecticut?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't think of a lot of vegan restaurant,
man.
Yeah.
I mean, that was in the Guinness Books of World Records for a little while. The street we were on, Campbell Avenue, there were more pubs and liquor stores and places that served alcohol than anywhere in the United States, right on Campbell Ave in West Haven. So we didn't kill it in West Haven with people that lived in the area, but we would bring in David Wolf. Going back to Dave, he said, anything I can do to help you. We brought him in on 2 different occasions to speak at Catch a Healthy Habit. And we got over 100 people at both times that he spoke there.
Oh, that's awesome.
And there are other raw food, like amazing authors and doctors, and they all came. We were it. I mean, there was New York City, but there weren't venues to do all these speaking events.
Right.
So we had the big...
And nothing in Connecticut either.
Yeah, we had the big venue. And how far is New York City? Not that far, right? So, and we were right in between, you know, West Haven, New York, you know, Boston area. People were coming from everywhere. So we had Gabriel Cousins, who's a doctor. He had a space out in Arizona. We had Brian Clement, who has the Hippocrates Health Institute. We had Matt Monarch, who was a big raw food guy. So we had a lot of events back then. Potluck dinners every Thursday, other documentary screenings and things like that. So the community was big, and just on the events alone, we were paying the rent and doing pretty well. So we're ready. We got a little nest egg, and we know we got to move on from West Haven. So it kind of happened a little prematurely. I don't want to get into that story, but we basically had to go. So simultaneously finding out when we had to go, 2 days later, we get a call from my friend who's has a coffee shop in Fairfield, Las Vegas.
Andrew?
Andrew. So Andrew and I went to high school together. So Andrew called and said, listen, I got some info. The lady with the dress shop right around the corner from me, she's going out of business. Not going out of business, sorry. She's moving.
Okay.
Space is going to be open. So he forgot to tell us that it wasn't public news yet. So we called the landlord. The landlord said, there's no space open on Uncle Road.
Oh, he didn't even know yet?
He didn't know. So I said, listen, if anything opens, we're dying. Here's our number. 2 days later, he calls back. It's open. We're in, paid, signed, sealed, and delivered right around Halloween of 2009. We opened the day before Thanksgiving 2009. And we've been there ever since. And, you know, we've, again, got a tight clientele.
Right.
And every once in a while, we get some people in willing to try it. And sometimes there's some converts. And sometimes there's people that this food doesn't fill me up, or the texture or the coldness of a raw Catch a Healthy Habit burger doesn't resonate with them. But there are enough people that understand. You don't have to be a raw foodist to eat at our place.
Yeah, I stopped by there for smoothies and stuff.
Yeah,
sometimes,
smoothies and juices.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's really super healthy food. And it's all really homemade because we make it right there. It's all just, it's really quite, and this is the caveat for me, because nobody else is doing this. Some people might be doing a lot of it, but nobody's 100% organic. Like nobody's doing 100% organic. Every fruit and every vegetable and everything, every seed, every nut, everything that we use is certified organic. And you know what? If we get a call from the place that's delivering our vegetables and saying, hey, listen, we don't have any spinach. You mind if we sub the non-organic stuff just this time? And the answer is no, right? So we'll run to Whole Foods if we've got to get some organic stuff to fill in, because our distributor can't get us organic,
right,
you know, with that delivery. But it's got to be 100% organic. That's like part of the lifestyle. I mean, if you're eating sprayed stuff with glyphosate and all that stuff, I mean,
it's no good. Yeah.
are you really eating healthy when it comes down to
Right.
it? So we're doing the best we can in that world. We're going to start bringing events back when COVID subsides and start trying to build back, you know, the community we once had. I'd say a year ago when we were doing events and bringing speakers. And again, I've got a podcast that I've been doing a little bit more with the past 6 months, but I know I got to do a lot more, and seeing what you guys are doing here and how you banged out 11 episodes and however short time you've been doing this is like, I gotta get going.
I mean, any help that you need, we'll
Yeah, we're
definitely
here.
help you out.
Yeah, for sure.
What's going back to when you were talking about making the switch to the full raw diet? What was like the hardest part about it?
You know, I was living at home when this was all happening.
With your Italian,
Yeah, with my
Making
Italian,
Sunday.
yeah, with my Italian mom who didn't understand
right?
this thing at all. And she still doesn't understand it now, but she kind of gets it. Like she's not asking me if I want, meatballs anymore. She kind of gets where I'm at with it. I think it was community. Once I found friends who were into it, and I can go to a himza with them, or we can do a potluck, or I can go out with them. We can bring our snacks into a movie. You know what I mean? Things like that. Once I found a group of people that were into it and that were doing it, it became easier and easier. And then
I would imagine for something like a raw diet, it's like, because it's not, so like if you're on like a ketogenic diet, right? You could go pretty much to any restaurant and be like, yeah, let me get that burger without the bun, and I'll take a side salad to avoid the French fries, right? But if you're eating just raw foods, and you can't just go to Geronimo's or whatever and just find something on the menu that suits, unless you're just gonna get a regular salad every single time, right?
I mean, it all came down to the salad.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I would go back to restaurants based on their ability to understand that.
Yeah,
like, I don't need a waitress or a waiter giving me shit because
I
want a salad with no meat. I want just,
no dressing. Just
I want
oil.
just olive oil on the side, and just ask your chef nicely whatever uncooked vegetables he has back there in the kitchen, cut them up and put them on top of the salad, and just charge me whatever you want. So there were places that were great with that, and there were other places where, the salad would come out, the dressing would be on it, or it would be sprinkled with cheese on top. And here I am thinking, I don't have, why am I having to tell them not to put cheese on it when I'm kind of, but some of the stuff,
you're not going to break your lifestyle for a salad, right? Yeah.
But I was taken for granted. So yeah, it was a little bit of a journey. I'd be honest with you, I did a lot of, probably 90% of the stuff myself. And I was living on probably 2 of the 3 meals I was eating per day were smoothies. So I was going to town with the smoothie. I was making my own almond milk. I have all the frozen fruits ready to go, throw the greens in there. I was having a really good time with that. And then, I learned how to make raw chocolate. I learned how to make raw ice cream. And that stuff was just adding. So now I'm getting my desserts.
Right, which is important.
Which there were a couple of years where that really wasn't part of it. But raw chocolate hit the scene maybe hard. It probably hit the scene maybe 2004, 2005. People were starting to create raw chocolate companies, so you can go into a store and start buying stuff. Like this company called One. They're not in business anymore, but they're Sacred Heart chocolate. There were some super duper.
What raw chocolate is just straight cacao?
Well, it's the same thing cooked chocolate is without the cooked, right? So you're taking the raw cacao bean, and you're just basically kind of mashing it and melting it at super low temperatures.
So it's probably very rich,
to get
right?
the cacao butter and to get the cacao paste and get the cacao powder. But the difference with the cooked stuff is they just throw the beans in a vat, cook it super high temperatures, and get those same results, and then make their bars, and it's cheaper and it's easier. But the raw way to do it and take that cacao bean and keep it raw and then blend it into a chocolate bar or a truffle or something like that, it's a different, more time-consuming, process. That's why when you go to the store or when you come to Catch a Healthy Habit and you want to get a chocolate bar, sometimes off of instinct, people will go and right there we have the chocolate bars, they'll grab it and put it on the thing. Maybe they got a smoothie. Smoothie's $8, $10, depending on what size. And then they throw a chocolate bar on there. So mentally they're thinking, okay, my smoothie's $10, chocolate bars $2, $3, $4 maybe. You throw these raw chocolate bars next to the register, you're coughing up $10.
Right.
That's how it goes.
Because it's a hard process.
That's how you roll with real raw, like super duper chocolate that doesn't have that crap sugar in it. It's got like coconut sugar or maple crystals or stuff like that. It's just a different procedure.
Yeah. I always think that raw diet has to be so hard to stick to at first. So I would imagine that community around you. We had our friend Ryan on here. He was from UB too. He's a naturopathic physician.
Okay. His
whole story was he only eats meat pretty much. He's on like a 100% meat based with non-starchy vegetables. He eats the organ meat, heart, liver, all that stuff. Cause he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and his whole thing is no carbs, no need for all the extra insulin, and it just keeps his blood sugar normal, you know. But it's just so interesting to see like just two different ends of the spectrum. It's just raw vegetable diet and raw fruit and vegetable, and then like just eating meat, and it's like just I'm like right in between, I think.
Well, you know, most people are in between, and
I respect the people who are on the
fringe,
the ends of everything, like the far left and right of the food.
Sure,
you know,
yeah. And you know what? I think that any way can work for everybody.
Right.
If you're focused and you do it properly, like he's not doing that diet properly if he's going to Whole Foods or Stop and Shop and getting his meat.
Right.
He probably knows that the meat there isn't going to be able to be the only source he can intake. He's got to get the real deal, probably some really good raised stuff that's still got some minerals. And you got to eat the organs. You can't just eat.
That's why, he eats the hearts, livers, all that stuff.
No, you got to eat the organs. And some people, I would, like, even back then when I was eating meat like it was going out of style, the liver, the heart, I would never even think of consuming that stuff. You know what I mean?
I'm with you, yeah.
But educationally, he's obviously come to a conclusion that
it works for him.
With his condition, it works for him. And you know what? If he's not thriving 6, 8, 10 months from now, he's going to go. He's
been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah,
so it works for him. But that's the thing about diet is I feel like you have to figure out what works for you. You know, what's sustainable for you, right?
Sure.
And because you can't diet, and then binge eat what you're trying to diet from, right? Like, and Chris was talking about that on the show. Like, if you tell yourself, I'm not going to eat this, I'm not going to eat this, I'm not going to eat this, all you want to do is eat whatever you're telling yourself that you're not supposed to be eating, you know? So I liked his perspective, which was like making a lifestyle change. You know, you're not dieting, you're changing your entire lifestyle and whatever is sustainable for you to be healthier. Like, that's the way to go.
Yeah. So I think lifestyle there is the key. That's the most important thing, because if you're one thing one week and then trying another thing, and that's why diets don't work, because they're not lifestyles. You're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do A to achieve B. And when you get to B,
what's the motive to keep going, right?
Yeah, what's the motive to keep going, or how are you going to tweak it, or what are you going to do? So lifestyle is where it's at. And you got to find out what works for you. And I'm sure if you ask him, how does he know it's working for him? It's got to be the blood work. You know,
exactly.
You got to get the blood work, and you got to go down. You got to look at those things, and you got to say, okay, I'm in this range. I'm above this range. If I'm low,
what do I need to eat more of?
What I need to eat more of. And obviously there's an answer. Whether you're raw or you're eating all meat, there's an answer to whatever you're low in that you can get from whatever style you're doing. And sometimes it's a supplement, but most of the time it's food.
Yeah. It's that's the other thing we're talking about, is how crazy it is, like what we eat all day long, right? Like we're constantly putting something into our bodies, but most people don't really take the time to research and figure out how that's affecting their body, or
even listen to their body.
Yeah. I mean, if you're eating something that's constantly making you feel bloated, or, you know, you're not supposed to feel that way. You know, you're not supposed to eat something and then feel like enlarged from it, you know? Or like I eat pizza every once in a while, and like after I eat an entire pizza, you know what I mean? I don't feel great, but it's not something I do every single day, but I just know it's like, you know, dairy for me is probably not what I should be eating every day. So I don't eat dairy every single day. It's like a once in a while kind of thing.
A treat.
And I don't have the discipline to not do it ever. So I respect that. But it's just interesting, like how we can constantly just this what we're eating for fuel all day long, not look into at all, you know?
Well, that's key right there. What you said there about fuel.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't really put two and two together. Like I didn't really learn that whole concept till I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition.
That food, like food is fuel?
Like, well, eating isn't really necessary, right? The amount of eating that we do, the 3 meals a day, that's a hoax, right? That's a super hoax. We don't need to do that. I mean, now it's just, and this was, when did I go to school? I went there in, I even forget what year, 94, 95. But whenever I went there, it was they were talking about stuff now that's just getting down the pike, like the intermittent fasting, like, or just don't eat for a day.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't need it. It's
right.
It's crazy. Like I remember somebody telling me about intermittent fasting, and I was like, oh, like my whole life has been wake up, breakfast, go to school, breakfast, go to work, breakfast, go work out, whatever it is. And I've never thought to myself, like, because you're always told breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You need to have breakfast. You need to have this cereal. You need to have, you know. And like after researching everything, it's like, wow, like I don't need to eat a bowl of Lucky Charms to start my day. Like I don't need all this sugar rush to get me going.
I mean, the sugar and the milk.
Yeah, sugar, milk, right? All this stuff that's pushed on you that like our parents had no idea that it's not good for your kids. You know, it's just this quick, easy. You know, it's on TV.
You're drinking like a sugar-full glass of orange juice.
Yeah. Right. So after looking
crazy.
into it, and I was like, I'm just gonna try the intermittent fasting thing, like the 16-8. You know.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll start eating at 1 or 2 o'clock every day, 8 hour period of eating, and then I'll just wait. That first day of doing it was hard.
Yeah.
That waking up and not eating anything was really, really tough. The first time I really fasted was I was dating a girl who was Muslim, and it was during Ramadan.
Oh yeah.
You know, so and it was in the middle of the summer. I was like, I'm going to do this with you just because I need to like see if I can do it, you know? Yeah. So I remember like that first day of not eating all day long, like waking up, not eating, not drinking water. Right. Yeah. So I kind of jumped into it a little bit too hard, you know? But it's hard to not eat, but then after you do it a couple of days in a row, it's easy.
Yeah. And it flips into that, what we talked about before, the lifestyle. You just kind of do it.
Yeah.
Hey, can we take a break? Is
that
possible?
Yeah, of course.
I didn't drink too much. Actually, I haven't eaten today, so it's been a liquid day.
No, you're good. So, you remember where the bathroom is, right?
Yeah, let me do this, and then should be good.
We still on?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it recording.
What's going on with you?
Nothing, man. I'm just hanging out over here. I'm looking to export the sports port, but I got to get something from this hard drive onto that hard drive to be able to export it on there, and then I'm going to work on some other stuff. Get a monster after this. We're already at like 45 minutes, you know?
Okay.
So.
Wrap it up like.
Yeah, we could have wrapped it up, honestly.
I want to know more.
Yeah. Ask him some more. Just know we're at 45 minutes.
We'll wrap up like an hour.
Yeah. Telephone, eh?
We'll do this taste test.
Oh, yeah.
He said he hasn't eaten yet today.
Him? I don't remember.
He said he's just been drinking water all day. That's why I had to go pee. Oh. We'll ask him about that.
Is he about to eat now with us?
I don't know. Pizza sounds good right now, though.
I know. Honestly.
But after, like, talking to him and thinking about, like, how you feel after you eat pizza.
I know, but I do like to, I'm still going to, like, on the weekends, I can't.
It's hard, yeah.
I need it. It's like, just tastes so good.
Pizza Med.
All of them. Awesome. Yeah, the door's broken.
We've already been going for 45 minutes, too. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been flying.
It's fun. It's fun. I get energized doing this stuff.
I know,
right?
It's
fun telling the story.
All right, so we're talking about intermittent fasting.
You know, and for me, like I started way back when I was at Wakeman. I had heard all about it, and it made a little bit of sense. And then I went 8 months. What I was going to do was not consume any food, just drink water every Monday. So I think out of those 8 months, I probably maybe it didn't work out, maybe 3 or 4 of those Mondays. Mm-hmm. And but I was feeling really good. And what I learned from that whole procedure, and I was doing a lot of journaling back then, what I learned from that procedure is Tuesday was always my best day. I always felt great.
When
And
you, like just waking up and
well, just waking up with energy and light, really, really lightness. And I felt great. And that got me to a point where I started eating less from that point on. You know what I mean? And what I was doing, and I still do a little bit of it now, but I do it knowingly, is I don't do a lot of food consumption during the day. It'll be smoothies and a little bit here and there, and then I'll eat dinner. But I'm trying to eat those dinners earlier. The earlier I eat, the better I feel the next day. And I'm also trying, I still ingrained in my head is if I didn't finish food when I was a kid, there's starving kids and wherever.
Right, you have to eat everything
You have
on
to
your
eat
plate,
everything.
yeah.
So I'm getting a little bit better of when I'm making food at home, not making a ton.
right.
Because I'll eat it if it's on the plate.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm
And
the
if
same.
the portion's half or 3/4, I'll eat that too, and I'll be okay.
Yeah.
But if there's it's a journey. I mean, this health thing is a journey, and Catch a Healthy Habit's been great because people are coming in. Sometimes people come in off the street, and they're looking for us to hold their hand at the start of their journey. Maybe it was a health consequence. Maybe it was a reading from a test, or maybe it was doctor saying this, or maybe
Have you had any people come in like just amazing success stories, like somebody came in maybe overweight and switched to a raw food diet, or anybody that you could think of where it's like,
Yeah, I mean, you know what's great? Way back when YouTube was like, I think it just started in 2008, maybe 2009. So we were, I started a YouTube channel when we opened up the cafe. Any of the speakers, I would film their talk, and then I would also do interviews with them, before and after or whatnot. And it was great. And then when we moved to Fairfield, I met a couple of people like that. I met one person who started their journey when we opened up in Fairfield, and then some other people who had started their journey elsewhere. And then when we opened up in Fairfield, they just said their life got super easy, because now I can go somewhere and get my raw food, and I don't have to do it. But I remember the tagline to marketing this talk. Four people. They were each going to speak for 25 minutes and tell their story. Between the four, we had 370 pounds of lost weight between those people. And they were here to tell their story. And that was an amazing night. I just remember looking out at the 30, 40 people that were in the cafe at that time, just listening. And it was 4 separate talks in one night, but they were tight.
Right.
25 minutes, and one guy brought his pants, and like all 4 of the people could now fit in this pair of pants that he used to wear.
damn,
So
it's all like you cut so many unneeded calories out by switching to like a raw food diet, 'cause
Yeah,
you're not,
and that was the story. It wasn't earth shattering or anything crazy. I just started eating fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds, and I stopped drinking soda. I stopped, eating late at night. I stopped, drinking and eating all the processed crap. Yeah. And 2 of these people had already done their raw food journey, were off of that, and now they were doing vegan, vegetarian cooked food. But they had, they had a common ground where they were, and they were doing great with their weight, and they felt phenomenal.
yeah. No, it sounds good. I mean, and there could be that balance in there too. Like you could eat 1 or 2 raw meals a day, 1 cooked meal a day, right? Like, so it's just not like, whenever I think of diet, I'm like, you have to be 100% this way or 100% this way. It's like,
yeah, no, I went through that. Like when I was doing it, I was 100%, and that was it. And I'd go places, and people, I just have a, I should have back then. I thought, if I thought it through, I had this tag on me as 100% raw foodist, and everybody knew it. I was 5 years.
You had something to live up to.
So if somebody saw me eating rice and beans or whatever, it would have been like news. You know what I mean? So I was like, I went through that for a little bit, but now when people see me out, like Lisa and I, we went to Matchburger Lobster, Lisa's brother's newer place, and I had
it's in Westport, right?
Yeah, it's in Westport. I had a salad with his veggie burgers, homemade veggie burger on top.
Okay.
And it was great. I can do it. And people see me, oh, you eat here? You eat this food? Yeah, I eat this food.
Yeah.
I eat food in general. I pretty much go anywhere I want nowadays, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
There's gluten-free crust now with pizzas. I can go to Brick and Wood and get they make it right. I can get gluten-free crust, tomato sauce, and just throw a whole bunch of veggies on top of it, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't do it every night.
Right.
But I'll do it.
No, that sounds good. I like the balance of it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so many times with diet, it's just like
Extreme.
so extreme. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. People got to get off that train where I am this. I am a vegan. I am a vegetarian. I am only eating meat. Kind of get off that track a little bit and just say, hey, I got a healthy lifestyle going, and I love it. You want to know what I do? This is what I do.
Awesome. And then let's do what'd you bring over here?
Oh yeah. So
We'll do our taste test. We did our first episode with the Dr. Atar that we were telling you about. He brought ghost peppers.
oh wow.
So we did raw ghost pepper challenge.
So
It was-
one of
Keep
the one of the lead-ins to the raw food world, like let me just paint this picture and then I'll get into that.
Yeah.
So we get this a lot. So a wife it's her birthday, and she's full on into the vegan world, the raw food world, whatever it is. She wants to go to Catch a Healthy Habit for her birthday.
Okay.
So who does she drag along? Her scratching and clawing husband.
Who wants a steak?
So he definitely wants a steak, but it's her birthday, so he's got to pony up and show some support. So a lot of times those kind of people come in and they'll get the burger or they'll get the nori wrap or back we used to have a raw food lasagna on the menu. They'll get that, and I'm always so confident in going into that table when I look and I see the plate is empty. Right?
Right.
I said, how was it? And he goes, listen, I was a little surprised. It tastes good. Texture was a little weird. Cold. Whatever. It was actually good. And then they go for dessert. And then it's all over.
Once you get that chocolate.
Yeah, for instance, hold up that one there. So that's the raw food cookie dough bite. So that's just delectable. That's the homemade chocolate with some cacao nibs in there.
It looks amazing. As soon as I saw this, I was like, I shotgunned.
Yeah, he shotgunned it. He did.
So ground oats and sweetened with maple syrup. So if we're sweetening our desserts, it's going to be local honey, which actually comes from Weston, red bee honey, or it's going to be maple syrup, which is awesome. Coming not so much local, but from Vermont.
What else do you have over here?
And those are chocolate and vanilla macaroons. Super simple. It's one of the first dessert recipes I learned. It's shredded coconut. That one, the vanilla one, is almond flour. So we're taking organic almonds. We're just putting them in the blender. We're getting almond flour, shredded coconut, and maple syrup, and we're good to go. A little Himalayan salt, and then we do that. The other version of that is to leave out the almond flour and put in the cacao powder and make a chocolate version.
That's what this one is?
That's what that one is,
chocolate version?
Mm.
I'm saving that best one for last, that cookie dough.
Cookie dough bite. Yeah, but the dessert is kind of where it's at. I mean, nobody is going to have the dessert and say that they didn't
chocolate one.
They didn't like it. It's going to be good.
This one is really good. Tastes like.
Of course, the price points are always different. So the college kids can't come and live at our place too often. But the smart ones, they'll save up and they'll come by
grab
and
some stuff.
They'll get some stuff.
Treat,
and, and then college girls have birthdays too, so their friends bring them by and they enjoy all the really good. Everything's organic kind of way of living and eating.
This one's really good.
Which one, the chocolate one?
Chocolate one.
Yeah, and that was simple. I mean, back in the day when I was kind of doing this and finding all the places in New York City, there was a place called Pure Food and Wine. It was a literally exquisite 5-star raw food restaurant. God, I wish it was still there. But it was amazing. And, man, the macaroons they did, I mean, it's the same recipe. She gave me the recipe, but actually she didn't give it to me. It was in her book. But I don't know. I like theirs better. You know what I mean? Ours are really good. But,
No, these are really good. You have another dessert there. I forgot what it's called.
Is it like the raw chocolate fudge?
And it's like got like a glaze over it, kind of
Well, I think our most
caramel type of. I don't even. It's not caramel, obviously.
our two most popular desserts are actually the caramel bar, right? So it's that chocolate macaroon base.
It is.
Yep. And then we take macadamia nuts, which nobody's using because there's freaking $1,000 a pound. You know what I'm saying? But they're amazing. So we use macadamia nuts. We blend that up with a little maple syrup and some dates, and we make caramel, like our version of raw caramel. We put that on top of the square caramel bar, and then we drizzle some chocolate on top of it. And that's super popular. And I think our other one you might have mentioned, which is my favorite, is the turmeric chocolate fudge.
Yeah.
So it's maple syrup, coconut, shredded coconut flour, cashew flour, dates, turmeric. That makes one level. That makes the base. And then we do coconut oil, cacao powder, and maple syrup. And that makes the top. It's almost like a frosting. That makes the frosting, and that goes on top. And we cut those in squares.
I think that is the one.
Yeah, that's called the turmeric fudge. And we do some other amazing. We make chocolate pudding out of avocado. Obviously, chia seed pudding, which is kind of basic, but still it's really
good.
It's really good. And then we make this coconut parfait. We haven't really done it during this certain situational time with COVID, but this coconut parfait, I mean, people drive long distances, or they call first, make sure we have it, put aside 4 or 5 of them coming in from the city or wherever. It's just really, it's like a coconut yogurt, but it's obviously dairy free.
I think most people who don't eat raw foods would be really surprised by how good
Oh yeah,
it actually is. You know,
they wouldn't. I don't think they would be expecting it, and then they'd get it, and they'd be like, "Wow, this is really good."
when you think of raw food, you're thinking of just like raw
Rabbit
uncooked
food.
kale, something you know, or it's just
Even like kale chips. You know, people are thinking like kale chips. That's great. That's raw. That's tasty.
Yeah.
Everybody's into that. Brad's raw chips came out in 2008 or 9, and company freaking blew up. He sold it for God knows how much money, and simple kale chips. You know, people think of that, but raw chocolate and these types of desserts. I mean, unbelievable.
yeah, they're like so good, and there's no processed sugar, anything.
No, like I said, it's either sweetened with honey, the chocolate, or most of the other desserts just get Vermont maple syrup. That's it.
Sounds good.
So good.
I mean, it's amazing.
I love it.
How was when COVID hit? How did it affect your business? Obviously, being a sit down kind of establishment, but also takeout. Like, was it tough to get through?
It's hard. It's really hard. So when that hit in March, and the governor kind of shut down non-essential stuff, and everybody was in a panic. Not many people were coming out, and that type of thing. We never closed a day, so we were open every single day. But we basically had to lay off our staff initially. We kept one girl, and then Lisa and I were working all day, right? So usually I would be in, or Lisa would be in, and then our staff would be in. And then there were days, in the normal world that, neither one of us needed to be there because of the staff situation. We still do have great staff. So when COVID hit, it was tough. It was really tough. So we began eating up the hours, which was, less money out. And then, we did the loan, so that helped us out initially with rent and stuff. So I would say we're surviving. We're definitely not thriving.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit of a struggle. People are kind of starting to come back. We opened it up to inside eating. This weather's been a blessing up till now. Like
when it
today,
gets cold,
today was literally the first day that we knew nobody wanted to stand outside and place their order for curbside. We were going to kind of let them in and come in. So it's not going to get easier, with the weather. But we're just going to grind along and try to not reintroduce stuff. We're going to bring in some different stuff we haven't been doing up till now. We're actually going to do some more cooked food. So we have quinoa bowls, which are cooked and warm. We have a crock pot with a hot soup. We kind of vary every couple days. We also have this other kind of plate that we can cook on.
Oh, so you're gonna start doing?
Yeah, we're gonna do some
wintertime stuff.
Some wintertime stuff, cooked foods. Because there's places that have popped up around us over the past couple of years that have definitely siphoned away some customers, or if not, just giving those customers another option.
Right.
So now the business is getting sheared. So we want to maybe bring them back a little bit. Like they're coming to us for the raw food and the raw desserts, but they're going to them for the cooked food. You know what I mean? So we want to bring back some cooked options.
Yeah, keep it healthy and organic.
Yeah, keep it super healthy, gluten-free. Everything's gluten-free. Keep it organic. We do a really awesome toast now too, which is great. And with the quinoa and the soup and whatever else Lisa and staff have up their sleeve to introduce for the winter menu. Hopefully it'll bring back some interest and some pizzazz and some more customers so we can stay there.
Sounds good. If you're listening, make sure you go check out Catch a Healthy Habit Cafe and show some support for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't actually tell you exactly where we are. So we're in Fairfield on Umpqua Road. So all the buzz is like
downtown Fairfield, right there.
Fairfield, right at the corner. Sacred Heart is putting in some money with an investor there to build up that old theater.
Yeah, it's going to be their new theater program there.
Yeah, so our biggest event ever at Catch a Healthy Habit was 272 or 73 people in that one bay at the old theater that had a second deck to it to hear David Wolf.
Oh, wow.
So that event itself was not only amazing event for community building and information and education, but financially it was great for us. And that was back in 2011. So we're looking forward to that.
Hopefully doing some more stuff like
that. Coming back, and so that we can get in there and maybe rent that and bring back some really cool health-focused events back to Fairfield.
Sounds good. We're looking forward to that. Where can people find you on social media? Do you have an Instagram? Do you have a Facebook for your business?
Sure. Yeah. We have a Facebook where, basically Catch a Healthy Habit everywhere. And I think Instagram, that wasn't available, so we threw the cafe on there.
Okay.
So it's Catch a Healthy Habit Cafe. So Instagram, I'm putting a little energy into, and you got Instagram connected to Facebook now, so Facebook gets that energy as well.
Yeah.
And then I would say I'm all over Twitter personally.
Okay.
But not so much with the cafe, and I'm doing very little with the cafe. Back when we had events, I was all over some LinkedIn and some other platforms getting out that information about the events, but not so much anymore. But if there's anybody out there who wants to work for food, wants to help with some social media help and setup and pictures and marketing right now, we don't have the budget for it, but we can use some little support with that type of stuff. And that would really help us get to the next level.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Anything else that you wanted to add in before we wrapped up? Anything we left out? We didn't ask?
We did leave out one thing, and I just want to tap on it really quick, not to toot my own horn, but just to let people know that I've been 28 years, I've been a basketball official for high school. And what I do want to say is, unfortunately, the officials, the sports officiating world is not doing so well. Okay. People are not staying with it. People are dropping out. Parents, coaches, high schools are doing their part and changing rules with the game starting this year that are going to be awesome for the referees. But the point is, I'm on the committee that helps people who want to become basketball officials become basketball officials. So we need you out there. I know the world of lacrosse officiating is super hurting, as is umpiring for baseball. And actually, all the youth sports can use help. Soccer, too. I mean, you got guys out there for youth lacrosse tournament. They're doing 6 games.
Wow.
Basketball tournaments, the AAU, they're doing 6, 8, 10, 12 games in a weekend. You know what I mean? Because the bodies aren't out there anymore.
They're just helping out.
Yeah, so I'm a part of IABO board number 9, which is Fairfield County, but Connecticut has 6 or 7 boards: Litchfield County, New Haven County, Hartford County. So if you want to officiate basketball, go to iabo.org and you can find the information. If you're in Fairfield County, reach out to me directly. I'm at Colello. iabo969 at gmail.com, or we have our own site, iabo9.org. So just search us out, find us. We're in a class right now. We're out here we're talking now in October. So we're getting the new class set up to start refereeing the new season.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for some of those people too, and if hopefully send some people your way.
Yeah, good.
Sounds good. Again, Glenn Colello, Catch a Healthy Habit Cafe, Fairfield, Connecticut on Uncle Road. Go check them out. Help support some local businesses. Maybe looking to a raw vegan diet, make some lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
New Year's coming up.
Yeah,
Start the changes now. Don't wait.
Right, we're here for you, and our 11th anniversary is coming right before Thanksgiving, so we're going to do some whistles and bells. But yeah, come check us out and give us a try. If you're intimidated by the lifestyle change, conversation we had, or you're intimidated by the term raw food, vegan, vegetarian, anything like that, you don't have to jump down a rabbit hole. All you got to do is walk in and try some food, have a smoothie, have Mike's favorite dessert, and, and just give it a shot and see if it resonates with you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, hey, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, man. This was awesome.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
We're
We
definitely going to
appreciate
have him again, guys. Thank you. Peace.